Love, 268 and 3 touchdowns. The Packers defense kept Jared Goff and the Lions off balance all game. Goff was pressured 17 times Thursday. That's the most in a game since he's been a Lion, and he went 3 for 12 passing, committed 3 turnovers when under pressure. So, for the Lions, bad game or bad sign?
It's a bad week when you think about it. Jared Goff's had
It wasn't one of the options.
Yeah, I know, but
you making your own stuff up,
yeah.
Mike?
No, it's to me, it's a bad sign because when you have 6 turnovers in a week, 3 interceptions, and then 3 fumbles, that is a concern. And if Jared Goff isn't well protected, and they've had some injuries on their offensive line, he is playing very average football. That is a bad sign for the Lions.
Totally agree, it's a bad sign. Jared Goff, 2 bad games in a row, but mainly their offensive line got beat up. And I don't know if I've said that this year, that this offensive line physically got beat up. That's the strength of this football team. That's one of the reasons why Jared Goff has played so well. Now, absolutely credit Green Bay's defensive front, Preston Smith, and the effort of those guys was awesome. But if this offensive line isn't controlling and physically dominating and dictating football games, it's a different football team. I love Detroit. I think they're a really good team. But this is 2 games in a row where the quarterback has played bad. The offensive line got beat up. Their defense hasn't stopped anybody since the Baltimore game. They can't rush the passer. Again, really good team even after I said all that.
Yeah.
But I think that you got to be concerned with how your offensive line played.
Hawk, last week we were talking about, hey, look at the upcoming schedule. The Lions, they could end up with the 1 seed, but they were heavy favorites in this game and lost it. So what do you make of the way things are going in Detroit?
I'm gonna mix up a couple of those options. I'm gonna say a bad game week, just the way that Mike T said, because it was a short week to prepare, and they weren't able to get some of those things cleaned up from a week ago. They're a different team when they are pressured on Goff, and he is becoming a turnover machine. Now, that being said, they're a very relatable team because I think this is just a speed bump in their evolution. We've all been there. We've worked on ourselves all year long. We've gotten better. We can't wait to go home for Thanksgiving and show everybody how we've changed. And unfortunately, as soon as we get back around family, we jump right back into all the old bad habits and we look like the old Lions. That's all this was. They will be fine. Their offensive coordinator has been amazing. And so now that he'll get the time to say, okay, let's fix some of these pressure issues on the offensive line and get Jared Goff back playing good football, I think they'll be good down the stretch.
Oh, context, right?
Yeah.
Like, again, the Lions are 8-3.
Yeah.
That's great for Detroit.
Yeah, a lot of teams wish they had their problems.
Fine when it comes to Philly, San Francisco, Dallas. I don't see that right now with the way their offensive line got beat up. That's my big takeaway.
So we'll see. Obviously, the Lions still in first place, but the flip side here is the Packers. All of a sudden, the youngest team in the league with a quarterback in Jordan Love that's had an up-and-down year are right on the fringe of this. And I want to show you this stat. Here's Jordan Love's first 11 starts as a Packer next to another guy who was his predecessor as a starter with the Packers. I don't know what happened to that guy. But these are pretty similar stats. What do we think?
Well, I'll tell you, the other part of this that's fascinating to me is the surrounding players around Jordan Love are extremely young. I'm talking about Luke Musgrave, Jaden Reed, last year, Romeo Dobbs, and Christian Watson. So those numbers are outstanding, guys. When you think about it's a skill group as a whole, I was really bullish on Jordan Love in the offseason. A little disappointed how he played earlier, but the more you think about it is they got to bring together a whole group, not just a quarterback.
Every single receiver / tight end he has is a first or second year player, like every single one. So what are you seeing?
How many other teams and quarterbacks are doing this right now? Realistically, that we sit there and go, they could be a very different team in 4 weeks. Cowboys, but context, okay? And I think the biggest part is they figured out who their identity is on offense because of the youth. And Matt LaFleur, in many ways, he's gotten back to his roots, that play-action pass that we loved so often. And the number one reason is the protection in that play-action world. To keep the tight end for a chip, pull the backside guard. Look at this pocket. Jordan Love now has time to see, and then some of the physical talent kind of becomes a storyline. That's a beautiful kind of drift throw right into tight coverage. Now we got 2 tight ends on the field, 12 personnel. Ball fake from under center. Guys, look at this pocket. So what they've realized is the play action not only helps their receivers, but it allows their quarterback protection to kind of see the field and get the ball out of his hands. Very similar look. Last time it's checked down. We got 2 tight ends. This time under center. Look at this throw up over this linebacker. But the pocket, the protection, that's everything when it comes to a young quarterback. He's got the time to go make that aggressive throw. Jordan Love is a very different quarterback. I think a lot of guys are. Play action and non-play action. Yesterday, I think he was like 9 for 11 for a $150. But I think the way he's a different quarterback is the ball placement is so much better when they use play action for him than when they play him in drop back football. And it's mainly because he's got such a cleaner pocket to work from.
They're definitely on the ascent, as you say. As you see here, started 2-5, but now they're 5-6. Hawk, is this a team that can sneak into the playoffs yet?
I think there is absolutely a path because of the way that they're playing football. To Dan's point, there's a trajectory here that makes sense. And even if you watch Love play early in the year, he got better as the game went on, right? And then now, as the season is progressing, Matt LaFleur is trusting him more. And he is trusting his receivers. That first play, that's a big deal. There was a report that LaFleur wanted to change that opening play, and Love said, no, let's keep it. That's trust. They kept with it, and then he trusted Watson to go up and make it in a way that me and Dan looked at earlier in the season. Watson wasn't running routes that way. So that shows that this team is getting better, and they could be scary down the stretch.
Yeah, good point. Don't rule them out. Real quick.
Yeah, yesterday they won without Aaron Jones, like their most reliable veteran
Who
player.
used to be like the guy that if he played, they would win, and if he didn't, they lose.
Right.
I actually go talk to coach before every game, and sure enough, I called him as he was talking to Jerry, and so I mentioned it, and of course Jerry liked it. So, at that point, my direction was just make sure we're up, and the game was in hand. And so, the touchdown, 2 CD, and then following 2-point conversion. If you watch, I'm kind of like, is it time? Can we do it? I'm like, no, we'll get another one. And sure enough, right after the one to Terp, was like, yeah, let's go for it. And it was good.
It was good. It was good. Ryan Clark joining us now, and so has Dak Prescott been good since that 49er game. What are you seeing with Dak and the Cowboys last 5-6 games they've played?
I mean, the first thing you're seeing is confidence. I think secondly, you're seeing that Dak Prescott is willing to use his legs, willing to create time in the pocket, which he hasn't been comfortable doing since his lower body injury a few years back. And then you think about the fact that they've now decided to target CeeDee Lamb, treat him as a number one, as Dan Orlovsky asked for weeks ago. But then you're seeing the other guys come along. The first pass early on in the game, it was about Michael Gallup. It was about Jake Ferguson. We saw Brandon Cooks get involved. And then that allowed CeeDee Lamb to get involved in the game more organically. And now with Dak Prescott playing at such a high level, the defense can do what it does best, which is pin its ears back, rush the quarterback, and also create turnovers. But it still doesn't matter until we see this happen in a big game, until we see who Dak Prescott and this offense can be in critical situational football moments. Yes, he played amazing against the Philadelphia Eagles, but it was late in that game with he and Mike McCartney with time management, making the right decisions, putting this team in the right place to execute. We know that they can score points. We know that Dak Prescott can play top-tier football at the quarterback position. But is it going to matter and is it going to count when you play the best teams in the most important moments?
Mike T., you think they've actually shown something during this stretch that makes you more confident going forward when they do play those good teams again?
Yeah, absolutely. It's how do they get better from within? It's young tight ends like Luke Schoonmaker, Jake Ferguson. What's remarkable is a year ago we were talking about, is it Jalen Tolbert, is it Michael Gallup? Those guys are actually afterthoughts, guys. 10 different Cowboys caught passes yesterday. They are much more diverse on offense than they've been. And then on the other side of the ball, they overcame some big injuries. We've already talked about Deron Bland and Marquise Bell. But going back to offense here, that seam route to Jake Ferguson.
It's a great throw.
Yeah, that's better than what Dalton Schultz could have done. They're getting better at the tight end position. And outside, again, they have a lot more volume than they've had in the past.
A very good performance by Dallas Cowboys. I love the toss plays in their run game. Dak threw the ball downfield well. RC, you talk about his eyes. I think his legs. I think the best part of it is it's not just running. It's running and trying to go create big plays, with his eyes downfield. And I think that's kind of the thing that I've certainly lost sight of. Like this, first of all, great block by Tony Pollard, climbs outside the left of his pocket, goes to throw. Nope, not there. All right, so that's the right decision in that moment to go use your legs, keep your eyes downfield. Escapes to the right of the pocket. Now, watch how his eyes stay downfield. He's not just trying to get away from bad. He's trying to go create good for their offense. Obviously, a nice bounce there, but these two are awesome. Again, climb from the left side or up the left side of the pocket, eyes downfield. This ball is going to be snapped from the 38-yard line going down inside the 10. That's 20-plus yards. Then now this ball is going to be snapped at the 15. He climbs or evades to the left, and this is an absolute rope kind of across his body as he resets for another 20-plus yards. You're talking 40 to 50 yards of offense strictly because the quarterback got away from bad and then created good. Really, really good win. Really, really good win. Let's have this conversation, RC, Mike T, and Dan, in the context of like the college football playoff. If the Cowboys, we were doing that, it would be eye test versus resume. Because we could sit here and say, man, they look like a good football team. That's not surprising. They beat nobody. They've beat absolutely nobody. Yep. The last three teams that they've played against, 28th on defense, 31st on defense, 32nd on defense. So good performances, but we don't know anything different.
Dan, we're on the precipice of them
but this is the
2 months. Go ahead, RC.
No, but this is the conversation. I actually tweeted it yesterday, and then I had to remember something. I tweeted about the Miami Dolphins and the Dallas Cowboys, two of the best teams in all of football, or at least we believe that. Neither of those teams have beaten a good football team. Now, what they do is they play bully ball, right? When you're playing a team that you're better than, when you're playing a team that your roster is more complete than, then you blow them out, right? And that's what gets us excited. That's what makes us feel like these teams could be teams to win a championship. But you also think about the Dallas Cowboys playing down to the Arizona Cardinals early on this year. We feel like they've moved past that. Like we won't see those performances anymore, but are we going to see performances that allow you to beat the Philadelphia Eagles? Are we going to see performances that allow you to beat the San Francisco 49ers? Because we have to remember that two of the losses that the Dallas Cowboys have are to two of the teams you probably have to beat to be a Super Bowl champion, to be an NFC champion. And so that's what we have to figure out about the Dallas Cowboys. When all the chips are on the table and it's great on great, can you be good enough? Can you execute well enough on those days to be the victor in the end?
But RC, that's where I would push back a little bit because I do see greatness. I see greatness in the last 2 months that we're going almost on 2 months, guys. They've lost one game, and that was to Philadelphia literally by a handful of plays. That was a heavyweight fight, and they stood toe-to-toe with the Eagles, and they're going to get them in Dallas. And this Dallas Cowboy team is better.
We're also going on an entire season where the Philadelphia Eagles have only lost one game.
Right.
The San Francisco 49ers have never lost a game whole since Brock Purdy has been the quarterback.
Right.
And so I understand what you're saying. It's we're grading the Dallas Cowboys against the Dallas Cowboys. You are now better than what the Dallas Cowboys used to be. We are now more confident in you than we used to be in the Dallas Cowboys. But the two teams that they have to play, they've already played and they've lost and they've played better over a longer period of time.